Okay, we will start. And last week we saw the first 10 shlokas in chapter 9, and particularly the shlokas 7, 8, 9, 10, where Sri Krishna talked about the creation process once again. He said he uses Prakriti and uses Prakriti as a mechanism for this whole process of creation, manifestation, dissolution and so on. He says that this ultimate Brahman stands aloof from this. Maya Adhyakshena, that is the last shloka, 10th shloka. It happens in my supervision, but I am not involved too much into it. So a set of 4 shlokas in which he talked about Prakriti and the creation process quickly. Now, in the next few shlokas in this chapter, Sri Krishna gets into Bhakti and Jnana, both of them. And I think let's not do this. It's getting live streamed, so let's not disturb it. Okay. Next time we will see. Huh? It's all right. So in the next shlokas, he is going to talk about bhaktas and those who are not bhaktas. And in this process, there are a few attributes of bhakti and jnana he makes a reference to. Before we talk about it, I want to share a little bit of what happens in the name of bhakti and jnana in common parlance. There is a certain issue. I want to flag that because what we will see here is a little different from that. We need to be very, very clear. First of all, if you take bhakti, for example, a vast majority of the bhakti cult, first of all, it becomes a cult. The way it is generally practiced, understood by people in a very common, parlance and so on. It's are all cults. So in some sense, it is very divisive. Each one claims his or her path to be superior to the other. This is one issue that we see in the name of bhakti. And somewhere it gets into a narrow perspective of religion. That happens, right? And once people get into that mode, it is all organizing in a particular way with a certain symbols, certain ways of doing things, certain lingas, certain signs. And very soon, inevitably, what happens is it even goes to a level of looking down on the other group. That happens at times. So, and it turns out to be dominantly a transactional process. Somewhere it degenerates. All that I'm saying is while the intentions with which all these, because the founders, see, Buddha never believed in idol worship. Buddha is a god now. And temples have been built for Buddha. Whereas his, the Mahayana and Hinayana, that is how the divergence happened. So point I'm making is somewhere down the line, this bhakti movement in common parlance get into a little bit of Bheda Bhava, a little bit of developing a certain sense of superiority, looking down on somebody, and it becomes a socializing event. Whereas the bhakti and jnana that we will see in a text like Bhagavad Gita, which is a Vedantic text, is pure Vedanta, is pure spirituality, and spirituality is hardly a social process. Whereas bhakti to a large extent turns out to be a social process. So this is one issue. The second issue which you will actually find is jnana. There is a certain expression of jnana, and again, if you see in common parlance how this is being somewhere gets degenerated, at least my own limited understanding, is in a vast majority of cases, jnana seems to be a source or a process for bloating the ego out of proportions. Jnana gets into ahankara very soon. In many places it happens, a certain understanding of jnana. And promoting too much of exclusivity is another. Jnana, somewhere it takes into a domain of exclusivity. That's another problem we see somewhere in this domain of jnana, that, because there is a feeling of knowing something which others don't know. That's where this whole process starts. So that gets into a process of bloating ego, that gets into a process of exclusivity, so thinking of something special or out of the ordinary and so on. And so in this journey, jnana, in a variety of situations, it appears the emphasis is more of knowing than being. Whereas in Vedantic text, jnana is going to the state of being. Here the emphasis somewhere turns out to be knowing than being. That's a difference. Or the emphasis happens to be more on doing than realizing. Doing and realizing are two different things. If the jnana pushes too much of doing part, then somewhere it can deteriorate into rituals. See, that's where these problems come. Correct? So that's another. So all these cannot be part of spirituality. So when we talk of, jnana, when we talk of bhakti, which Sri Krishna is going to do, there is no imagination of that sorts. There is no mention of those. The things that you see here are more in terms of spiritual, which means not some of the things. So with that background we will look at, because there is a quick reference to bhakti and jnana and then it goes. So last class we saw up to the 10th shloka, and then we will continue. So in the next 5 shlokas there is a description of ignorant and the bhaktas. There are a couple of shlokas about who are these ignorant lot, and a few shlokas on who are true bhaktas. So the bhakti part is defined, one part through bhakti and another part through jnana, and that's not what I just now mentioned. We need to be clear about that. So first about the ignorant people, we'll see this shloka starting from here, 11th shloka. Here Sri Krishna says, Avajananti mam mudaha manushim tanum ashritam param bhavam ajanantaha mama bhuta maheshwaram. First thing he says is, he uses the word mudaha. Mudaha are people who are deluded, who have missed the essence, who did not get the right understanding of reality. The tattva jnana is not there. They are the muda. They are confused. They took anitya to be nitya. If I have to use the word of Vedanta and talk a little bit, they took anitya to be nitya. All that which is temporary, they thought it was permanent. This is one dimension. Like that, there are many dimensions. So, mudaha mam ajananti. They don't understand me. And then he says, what they did not understand? They did not understand that what is my attribute? My attribute is parambhavam, my ajanantaha. This is his whole law of conservation of divinity. This is something which pervades everything. It is parambhavaha. Everywhere you must see this God particle. That is the right way to understand reality that unfolds in front of us. So parambhavam ajanantaha, mama parambhavam ajanantaha, not knowing that sarvajna, that sarvavyapi, sarvajna bhava of mind, which is what pervades. In previous shlokas we saw all of facets of them in chapter 7 and 8. Bhuta Maheshwaram, Bhutanam Maheshwaram. It is this lordship on all bhutas, it is not on manushas. The entire creation process, there is a force behind all of them. There is a force behind everything that is manifesting in this world. Whether it is Jata Shakti or Chit Shakti, it doesn't really matter. So there is a lordship to all of them. That is how they should understand me. They don't understand it like that. They never understand like that because they are in a human form, so they are in a very, they see things only in a very human form. They are not able to extend beyond that mortal constraints of that physicality. So this is how they are. Then he says, Mogasha, Moga Karmanaha, Moga Jnana Vichetasaha, Rakshasim Asurim Chaiva, Prakritim Mohinim Shritaha. So he uses this word Rakshasi and Asuri here. Then there is a chapter, Devasuri Sampat, where it is described in detail. In between you do not really see too many references of that. First time, so far this is where there is this reference. So he says, how are these people? These people have desires which are, deluded. Moga Asha. Because they have not got it right. They desire on things where they ought not to be desiring. So that is Moga Asha. Moga Karmanaha. Fruitless activities. Because if you focus on wrong things, all the activities are fruitless. Very simple. If I have to do something without knowing what I need to do, or without even knowing what I should do, if I exert a lot of activities, they are wasteful activities. So the focus is wrong. Since the focus is wrong, faint hopes. And that leads to fruitless action. Moga Ashaha, and an understanding of many things which are faulty. Moga Jnana. So the knowledge that I have got is faulty at the end of the day, because all of them start with the wrong. It is like saying, I had a wrong goal and put the best foot forward. I reached the wrong place. The effort is fruitless. The knowledge I obtained at the end of the day is useless. That kind of a situation is what he says. And why did it happen? Because they are vichetasaha. Vigata chetasaha, their mind is not working in the right direction. They have taken wrong understanding. It's a wrong mapping of the reality. So therefore everything that I do with that assumption all goes waste. So the whole effort is fruitless and everything is wasteful. Then he uses two words, Rakshasim. This word Rakshasa, Asura, all these have specific meaning. Asusu ramante iti asuraha. I will come to it. So these words have a very specific connotation which we will see. You say their nature. Such people who are all, mam ajananti, parambhavam ajanantaha, mudaha, their nature is Rakshasi, Asuri and Mohini, three words he uses. This is how they are. There are a lot of people who do things which are completely wrong, is what he says. This is a very nice story in Brihadaranya Upanishad. There is the end of the Upanishad ends with this story. Story of Virochana and Indra. Virochana and Indra approach Brihaspati. And they approach Brihaspati and they want to know the ultimate truth. So Brihaspati asks them to stay on. After several days, one day they called both Virochana and Indra, asked him, come completely dressed. Come as eminently as you can dress up yourself, please come tomorrow. I will now tell you who you are. They want to know, who am I? Every one of us have that question somewhere, dormant or otherwise. So both of them came, Indra and Virochana. So the Acharya took them to a sheet of water, a pond, crystal clear water, and say, now you look at yourself, you know who you are. So both of them looked at themselves and they see their pratibimba. Since they are so well decorated, they are at their best in terms of how they can look at. So this is the lesson, this is the advice Acharya has given, Brihaspati has given. Ask him, that's the lesson for you, you can go. Now I have told you who you are. Both of them went. Virochana was completely satisfied, he understood who he is. He understood he is nothing but this mortal body. So you have to clean it up well, you have to maintain it very well, you have to decorate it as much as possible. While Indra also returned, as he returned, he had huge conflict. He said, no, I cannot be this body. What they saw is their body in the sheet of water. While Virochana was completely satisfied with the answer, Indra wasn't. So Indra came back. He said, I am not satisfied. Virochana never came back. So these people are Virochanas. Virochanas are those who think you exist only because of your body. And yavat jivet sukham jivet. There is a, rinam kritva ghritam pibet. Basmi kritasya bhutasya punaragamanam kutah. It won't come. If you come, consign it to ashes, how is it going to come? As long as you are there, enjoy and go. Whereas Indra thought, it logically struck him that this cannot be true. That's why this Moga Jnana is that which loses its power of discrimination. Vedanta, the thoughts in Vedanta are high levels of logical thinking and reflection. So Indra said it's not possible, because one day this body will fall, the body will deteriorate, it will shrink. So how can I be that? So he came back. So that was a departure between these two people. So this is a class of Virochanas. This class that Krishna, these Rakshasis and Asuris and Mohinis are nothing but the Virochanas which is being described in Brihadaranya Upanishad. Whereas people who have a sense of discrimination will not settle for that answer. They say there is something wrong in this, there is something illogical. Now I need to sort it out. That was the story with which it continues, and then how finally Indra got the Brahmajnana. After a few rounds of going to Brihaspati, and every time he gave an answer and he went and reflected on it, he was not happy. He again came back, that kind of a story. So this word Rakshasa and Asuras are specific meaning. They have specific meaning. For example, Rakshasas, if you read different Puranas and places, you can gather this definition. By definition, Rakshasas are those who are being without reason. First of all, the power of discrimination will not work too much. That's the first attribute of Rakshasa. Okay? Uncultured, brutal, eating what comes in their way. No difference between Nishacharaha. That's another word which is used. In Ramayana, you will find this word many times. Whenever Ravana is, there is an adjective for Ravana, it is Nishachara. One who, wakes up in the night and does things. In fact, waking up too much in the night are all Rakshasa property, it looks like. For many of us, the world runs up to 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the night. But anyway, so no difference between day and night. No discrimination about himsa and droha, all these valueless. The value system is nil. This is one definition of Rakshasa. Then there is a definition Asuras. And the best understanding of Asura is Asusu. In Indriyas, they just revel in the Indriyas. They feed their Indriyas with Indriyartha. Put all gadgets, everything in the 5 Indriyas, how much it can take, make arrangements for it around. Have everything around you and then keep on feeding for the Indriyas. Nothing to reflect inside, everything is outside. That feeling. So Asusu Ramante iti Asuraha. These are people without any discrimination of the. So there is no dharma, adharma, that kind of a scope is not there. Generally enjoy. Revel on Indriyas. They are called Asuras. So in Shankara Bhashya, in this shloka, Adi Shankaracharya uses this, Mohinim. He says, what is this Mohinim? He says, Mohakarim Dehatmavadini. They say this body is important, not the soul inside. That is their central argument. What soul will and all, I don't know. So why am I bothered about things I don't know? They don't see through the futility of the logic. It only requires for you to some deep thinking. I cannot be the body, it is not rocket science. You just think on this idea, you will get this idea very, very soon. I cannot be the body. Because if I be the body, then in deep sleep the body never existed. Still I counted an I. In dream the body never existed. In the dream only mind existed, body never existed. So by using dream, and not only that, in the dream there are 100 characters, all the 100 characters are I only. I only come as my friend, I only come as my foe, I only come as the football player, everything I only, the raw material is supplied from within. How can you get 20 bodies out of one body? So I cannot be body. So, I mean, all these we can actually logically keep thinking. I cannot be the body, but they are thinking I am the body. Take care of the body, decorate it well, and see what others say about my body. That's the end of the life. So that is Dehatmavada. So Adi Shankara uses the word Dehatmavadini, and they say Chindi, cut, bindi, divide, piba, drink, kada, eat, whatever comes the way. Right? Parasum apahara, take away others' wealth and do whatever you want to do. These are the words he uses. This is the Bhashya. Ityeva vadanashilaha. They are very adept in saying only this and generally enjoying life. That's the definition he gives for Mohini. Right? So in Ishavasya Upanishad, there's a nice third mantra. It says, Asurya namate lokaha. Andena tamasavritaha. They are all enveloped by darkness. Tamas and Anda. They are blindfolded by darkness. Envelope and envelope of darkness. That's the description there. Andena tamasa avritaha. Avrita is an envelope. Right? Tamste pratyapi gachanti. Eke cha atmahano janaha. They say they destroy their own soul in this process. Atmahano. Atmanam hanti. They destroy. Destroy in the self. Soul cannot be destroyed. What it means is you destroy great opportunities and extend this scope of discovering it. That is the meaning. So he says, Pratyapi gachanti, they keep on coming and going into this cycle of birth and death. Pratyapi gachanti, eke cha atmahano janaha. Such people are those who are destroying a golden opportunity. That's what Ishavasya Upanishad says. So these are the kind of people that he is talking about. That Mohini in the Vishnu Avatara is a symbolism of these ideas. So we have to really go to a conceptual level and understand things. We should put the name and form. They are, I always say, Sukshma Tattva is very important. Stula Tattva is no use. Not in Vedanta, in your workplace, in your management, everywhere. Sukshma Tattva is much more valuable than Stula Tattva. So that Mohini as a form is a stula. There is a sukshma which we have to see, which will connect to this. So having described that category, he describes the other category. So he says, Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritimashitaha. There he said asurim prakritimashitaha. Here he says daivim prakritimashitaha, because he uses these two and goes to chapter 16, where you have Daivasura Sampat, where Daivi Prakriti and Asuri Prakriti we will see in detail. Mahatmanaha tu mam partha daivim prakritimashitaha bhajantananya manasaha jnatva bhutadim avyayam. Adi bhutam avyayam jnatva. They know this root cause of everything, the primordial cause of everything is me. They have a clarity on that. They have a convinced they have a conviction in them that what you see everywhere, the primordial cause is manifesting like that. That they are very clear, and bhajanti. So they worship that concept. They are at it. They are deeply into it. How? Ananya manasaha. This second triplet you will see ananya. Right? Nitya yukta, ananya, again and again these words will come. Ekasesha bhakti, Ekavisesha bhakti in chapter 7, some 24th, 25th shloka you will find this Ekasesha bhakti. As Ramakrishna Paramahamsa says, it is a difference between a housefly and a honeybee. Housefly will sit in all over the place. It will sit in all kinds of vastus. Good, bad, everything it will sit. A honeybee will sit only where there is honey. So that is Ekasesha bhakti. So Ananya Manas, his focus is single point of these all-encompassing greatest wonder called this principle which he has created. They are seized by that idea 24/7. Bhajanti Ananya Manasaha. That's what he says. Mahatmanaha. They are indeed Mahatmans. So they their Prakriti is Daivi Prakriti. So we will not get into Ashri and Daivi Prakriti now because there is a separate chapter anyway. So that's what he says. Then he says, Satatam Kirtayanto Mam Yatantascha Dridavradaha Namasyantascha Mam Bhaktya Nitya Yukta Upasate. Again, Nitya Yukta. They are all the time convinced of this idea that this greatest creation and the reality that see around me, including myself, is nothing but the manifestation in its beautiful forms and shapes. That thinking, that feeling which has gotten into our prana, such people will be Nitya Yuktaha, because they are always connected to the reality. They are always in touch with the reality. They are never out of touch with the reality. All the time they are in touch. It becomes their prajna now. So they are Nitya Yuktaha. So that is the description. They Satatam Kirtayantaha. They are amazed. They are awestruck by this creation, and so they worship it. And worshipping is not a measure of weakness. It is a measure of wisdom. To understand this nice interconnection which we don't know how to understand this. It is a deep sense of understanding oneness. Worship which can start with forms and names. That's why bhakti is the bridge for jnana. Without bhakti yoga, jnana yoga is not possible. That focus comes only through bhakti. And then as a fruit, when it ripes, it requires no support, it falls. Same way, without knowing that, it will get into a nirguna from the saguna. Saguna is very, very important to get into nirguna. That is all is being talked about here. Dridavrataha, they are steadfast because they have Shraddha. Third sloka, he talked about Shraddha. They are quite convinced that this is the greatest thing that for me to understand. The greatest wonder on which I have to really focus and worship with awe. So that gives them the Dridavrata. Yatantaha, they make effort all the time to get connected, to be in touch with that reality. That is what they do all the time. I want to take two shlokas because these two are great books on bhakti according to me. Mukunda Mala, which is 40 beautiful shlokas, and Shivananda Agli, which has 100 shlokas. It's nothing but bhakti which pours. What he said in this, Kirtayantaha, Yatantaha, just to know the frame of a bhakta, these two shlokas are very parallel shlokas, similar ideas. That's why I brought both of them. Look at this shloka. It says, Jikhve Kirtaya Keshavam Muraripum Cheto Bhaja Sridharam. Right? Then it says, Panidvandva Samarchaya Chuta Kata Shrotra Dvayam Tvam Shunu. Why do you need these 2 years? Hear about this greatness of the Lord. Why do you need the tongue? You praise the Lord, is what it says. Right? And then why do you need this Panidvaya? To Archana. That's why these two hands are required. He says like that. I mean, it is a state of ecstasy with which Kulasekara Alvar has actually written this. It's a state of ecstasy in which he is actually describing. So he says, why did we get these two hands? To do Archana. Why did we have 2 years? To hear Katha, Achyuta Katha. Shrotadvayam Tvam Shrunu. Krishnam Lokaya. Lochanadvayam. Why did I get the 2 eyes? See this divine form. And it is a good practice to see the divine form in Krishna. A person who can transcend it will see Krishna everywhere. That's what he said in Shloka 7 to 11 in chapter 7. He said, Rasopsu Kaunteya, Rasaha Apsu Kaunteya, Tejas Tejasvinamaham Balam Balavatam Asmi, all that he said, that will come. It starts here, but they will see God everywhere. So this will become much broader in appeal. He says, Krishnam Lokaya Lochanadvaya, Harehe Gachadangri Yugmalam. 2 legs, why do you need? You go around these holy places. Right? Jikhragrana, Mukunda Pada Tulasi. Why did you get this power of smelling? To smell these Tulasi leaves, is what he says, which is offered as offering to Lord Vishnu. So that's what he says. That's why perhaps we have got this power of smelling, is what he says. Jigragrana Mukunda Pada Tulasim. And why do you have the forehead? To prostrate before the God. Offer yourself. They say Dandavat. You should be able to fall like dropping a stick. If you drop a stick, it just falls. So it's called Dandavat. Some people use that kind of a word. So that is how he is describing here. Very similar you see here. Look at what Adi Shankara says. Sarupyam tava pujane Shiva Mahadeveti Sankirtane. Right? While by doing a puja of you, I get this Sarupyam. The Swarupa gets more and more clearer to me. Mahadeveti Sankirtane, more and more I do bhajan of you, I see the Samipyam Shiva Bhakti Durya Janata Sangatya Sambhashane. By being in Satsanga, I come closer to you. Samipya, I get Samipya. By being in a Satsanga and talking about these things, I am able to feel the sense of approaching and coming closer to you, is what he says. That's Samipya. First he said, how do I know you? How do I make in my mind and in my consciousness, how do I think of you all the time? You do these two. And how do I come nearer to you? He says, Shiva Bhakti Durya Janata Sangatya Sambhashane. Have Satsangata, talk these things with people. I feel like coming very closer to you. So what he says, Salokyam cha characharatmatanu dhyane bhavani. How do I see you? I see you everywhere. Chara and achara. Everywhere, the more and more I am able to see you, I am able to see, I get the vision of this divinity. Salokyam. Look is to look. Sanskrit root look means look in English. Same meaning. So how do you get Salokyam? Practice yourself to see everywhere. Slowly you practice, you will see me. So you know me, you come near me and you see me. That's the three levels he is actually talking about. Then I will get Sayujya. That is how I get my Sayujya, he says. Sayujyam mama siddham atra. I have got my Sayujya here itself. Because there is a three-part. I get a clarity of who you are. I create this mental model. That is Sarupyam. Then I feel being closer to you, which is Samipyam. Sarupyam and then Samipyam. Then Salokyam. I have seen you. I am able to see you everywhere. Krishna is going to show that in chapter 10 and 11. How we have to see everywhere, only Krishna and nothing. That divinity has to be really experienced. It cannot be talked about. We have to experience it. So that is what it is. Sayujyam mama siddham atra bhavati. So I mean, kritartaha asmi aham. I am accomplished now. What more do I need? These are all, shlokas coming out of ecstasy. They don't write shloka, they experience and then it spills out as shloka. So the shloka is later, experience is the first. It is not they sit and then look for how to write on shloka and then make it look good. It's anubhava which pours out. Then he said jnana yajnana. So it is not just bhakti. In the previous two shlokas it is bhakti. In this shloka he talks about, he says, bhaktas reach me through jnana yoga also. He says, jnana yajnana cha api anye yajantaha mam upasate. Some people have been able to go from saguna to nirguna. They are able to think of me without any aid. That is a much higher level. In chapter 12 Bhakti Yoga, the first 4 shlokas will talk only about Krishna. Arjuna asks a question and reply is given. This is okay, this is also okay, this is difficult, this is easy, all those are there. But this is also possible. And this is a higher stage which eventually people will anyway reach. Bhakti will also take you to the jnana. So jnana yajnana cha api anye ejantaha mam upasate. And what is that jnana yajna? That jnana yajna is ekatvena pritatvena bahuda vishwato mukam. They are able to understand this divinity as one which is multifaceted. Multifaceted, it can be one, it can be separate, it can be the whole world, whichever you turn, you can see it. That kind of an understanding which is coming through vichara. Jnana marga comes through vichara. So that vichara is explained here as Vishwato Mukam, Bahuda Vishwato Mukam. Whichever way you turn, I am able to see only the divinity. So that they get, in bhakti they get through experience in the method that is being described. Here it is through vichara. That experience will take us to this vichara. That's what he says. That's why in Mahanarayana Upanishad, there's a nice mantra there. He says, Vishwatas chakshuruta vishwato muko vishwato hasta uta vishwatas pat Sambahubhyam namati sampatatraidhyava prithvi janayan deva ekaha. It says Vishwatas chakshuhu. Whole world is eyes. Everywhere you turn, you see eyes. Vishwato mukho. That's what this Vishwato mukho. Same word. Everywhere you turn, you see the face of the God. Vishwato mukho. Hasta, hand or legs. Whatever you see, you are able to see only divinity. But even after all that, some bahubhyam nama, namati. With bahubhyam is dvivachana. With both hands, with folded hands, I worship that reality which can manifest like this. But what it says Janayan Deva Ekaha, Prithvi Janayan Deva Ekaha. That single primordial cause generates all this multiplicity. I have understood that. With that folded hands I worship. That is the Jnana Marga. Then there are about 4 shlokas. Shlokas 16 to 20, 19, 4 shlokas, which is a quick recap of this omnipresence of divinity, which has been told several times. Actually, if the question that comes to me quite often, I used to think, is Bhagavad Gita a text for knowledge or for experience? Because if it is a text for knowledge, it is stunningly, it is boring you to death with the same idea 100 times. Actually speaking. See, this idea has come any number of times. Now, if this idea has come any number of times, the question is, having told so many number of times, why have you not turned your attention to practice it even a little bit? So I will keep telling as long as you do it. So it is a book for experience. Until you get the experience, I will have to keep on saying it. It's not knowledge means you tell once, you memorize it, that's the end of the story. You don't have to tell it the second time. This is a book which wants to take us to experience. So that's why it is reminding again and again and again. This shloka, same shloka in a format we saw in chapter 4. It said Brahmarpanam Brahmahavihi, Brahmagnau Brahmanahutam, Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam Brahmakarma Samadhina. That is the 24th shloka in chapter 4. Same idea. Aham Kratuhu, Aham Yajnaha, Swadaham, Aham Aushadam, Mantraha Aham, Ahameva Ajyam, Aham Agnihi, Aham Hutam. Everything is me. Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavihi. Same thing he is saying here. He is saying the offering is me, the ghee is me, the mantra that is being told while the offering is made is also me, the person who receives it is me, the person who gives it is also me. Everything. There are only some technical words because Swada and Swaha are 2 types of Agnis. If you do Pitru Karya, it is Swada. If you do Deva Karya, it is Swaha. So these are the 2 wives of Agni. We have everything in a very figurative way. So to remember it, it's that Agni had 2 wives, Swada and Swaha and so on. It's just to remember that. So Kratuhu, Aham Kratuhu, Aham Yajnaha, everything is me, is what he started saying here. These are all quick recap of the law of conservation of divinity, which he has told 100 times. In these 400 shlokas, we have come up to 350 shlokas. They are midway actually, out of 700. Any number of times he has said it. He is keeping saying it again and again because it is still not. I heard a pravachan in a very powerful way understood this. He said, one person said, in that pravachan I heard, he has been, there is one person, so this other person called him a buffalo. In Kannada Bhasha, M.A. They say, a buffalo. So this fellow turned at him and then started shouting at him. So the other man said, I called you Brahman 100 times. I told you are the Brahman. You never turn back. Moment I say buffalo, you turn back immediately. You have to reflect on this idea. So they are telling us 100 times. We don't want to look at it. We are so thick-skinned, we don't want to look at that. Moment you say one wrong thing which we are not, we take ownership of that. I can never be a buffalo, but moment you say buffalo, my antennas are up. This is exactly what is called aviveka. We have wrongly mapped because we operate on a different plane. Moodaha. This is one definition of moodas. Anyway, so he quickly recapitulates this yet another time. Pitaham asya jagataha mata dhata pitamaha vedyam pavitram onkaraha riksama yajurevacha. So the Pita Mata of the Jagat and Pitamaha is just to say, I am the root cause of creation. If you go to, who is my grandfather, who is my grandfather's grandfather, if you go, where will you reach? He says, you will come unto me. So in other words, I am the root cause of everything. Jagataha, not only yours. It says Jagataha, the whole Srishtikarta. So that is conveyed here. I am the Srishtikarta. Then he says, I am the embodiment of knowledge. All these are proxy for knowledge. Rug, Yajus, Sama, Omkara. So he says, I am the creator of everything, which are physical entities, and I am the creator of knowledge also. So those are the two things which are coming from these two slokas, root cause of existence and root cause of knowledge. Then he says, Gatihi, Bharta, Prabhuhu, Sakshi, Nivasaha, Sharanam, Suhrit. You name anything. I am the path, I am the destination, I am the friend, I am the, Sakshi Bhuta, the reference frame with which you can change, can be understood only if there is, when you are on a position of fixed. If you are not on a position of fixed, how do you recognize change? Simply not possible. Change is a function of, you have to first be in a stationary plane. That stationary plane is Sakshi. Every one of us have a Sakshi. That is a substratum on which we are seeing changes. So everything is me, right? Prabhavaha, Pralayaha, Sthanam, Nidhanam, Srishti. There are this Panchakritya Parayana you will see in Lalita Sahasranama. Panchakritya Parayana. So there are 5 acts of divine acts. Srishti, Sthiti, Laya, Anugraha and Tirodhana. There are 5. All the 5 are divine acts. No man-made can do these 5. Srishti, right? And then Sthiti, Laya, Tirodhana and Anugraha. These are 5 concepts. I don't want to get into this. First 3 we may know, second 2 requires a little bit, but we will, at a later time we will see. So that's what he says. Nidhanam, which is perishing, and Bijam, the seed from which it came. So essentially these ideas he has Matta Parataram Na Anyat Kinchidasti Dhananjaya, he has said already in chapter 7. There is nothing other than me, not a speck of dust which is other than divinity. He is only again recapitulating the idea with different ways of, because we are simply not willing to take it. So he is trying 100 ways by which he wants to say it again and again. He says, I am not tired, I am going to tell 1,000 times. And how many number of times I say, we are not able to take it. Look at this irony of the whole thing. Because we seem to have our own doubt. I say Shraddha is a very important component in all this. Tapamyaham aham varsham. So scorching force is also me. Tapati. Right? That also is me. Rain is also me. Right? Varsham. Nigrahan usrijami cha. Taking and then leaving. He is giving several examples. He says everything that happens, there is only a God particle which is doing. This I doing is a very low level understanding which we are using for a very limited reason. Beyond that, its utility is very, very limited. He is reminding us, your I doing, if you have to say that prana has to, you have to breathe. While you are saying I and then before prana goes, doing will never be completed. You cannot even put a full stop to your statement. That I and doing comes through prana. You pull the plug, that's over. So that much is how value for our ahankar. We have to be very clear about it. I am doing this, God has been kind to you to finish that sentence. If he chooses, you will not even finish that sentence. That's the end of the story. So that's what he is saying here. I am the architect. I am the chief operator of the physical world. All activities in the physical world, he is now saying, I am doing. So in these 4 shlokas, he once again wants to, in fact, he is saying, Amritam chaiva mrityuscha. He says, death is also me. Immortality is also me. Mortality is also me. In Hiranyagarbha Sukta, he say, Yasya chaya mritam yasya cha mrityuhu kasmai devaya havisha videma. that who is both death and mortality and immortality. Satyam cha nritam cha satyam abhavat, niruktam cha aniruktam cha. In Taittiriya Upanishad you will find nilayanam cha anilayanam cha, vijnanam cha avijnanam cha. The world of duality comes only from God. That's why evil, good, everything is God. Plus, minus, the world of duality are all manifestations coming out of that wonderful thing called primordial cause called God particle. That's why he says, Amrutam chaiva mrityuscha, Sat asat cha aham Arjuna. Sat, existence. Asat, non-existence. Everything is me. There is nothing other than that. So these 4 shlokas are, in one way if you look at it, it is again an explanation to saying, Na kinchid, anyadasti dhananjaya, mayi sarvamidam protam sutre manigana iva. This is one more explanation to that shloka with these 4 shlokas. And having said this, once again painted this divinity, saying, whichever way you turn, please learn to see divinity. So the point he is saying is, that is bhakti. Not what I said at the beginning of the class. Bhakti is not a cult. Bhakti is not a social gathering. Bhakti is not a set of people trying to say I am better than the other group and develop a sense of superiority over the others, or we are superior class than you. That's not bhakti. These 4 shlokas says bhakti is our ability to breathe through this idea 24/7 that whichever way I turn, I cannot see anything other than divinity. The day we have reached it, we have become a full-blown bhakta. That is the point he is actually getting through these shlokas. Then there is a pair of shlokas in which he says, why people, if you don't go through the route of bhakti, you will actually go and come back. He wants to establish it once again, because in the 8th chapter he talked about Uttarayana and Dakshinayana and he left it at that. Look at these 2 shlokas. He says here, Traividyamam somapa putapapaha yajnai rishtva swargatim prartayante te punyam asadya surendra lokam ashnanti divyan divi deva bhogan. He describes a certain path in this shloka. What does he say? He says Traividya, which is, Rug, Yajur, Sama. See, this entire knowledge that our ancestors have given us, it's in 2 parts. One is called, Karma Kanda, another is called Jnana Kanda. The Karma Kanda is Aranyakas and Brahmanas, where it is all about worshipping, doing a set of rituals, worshipping, doing good things, out of which you can gather what is called punya. See, punya and papa belong to a scheme of debit credit which we know in accounting. It's a simple debit credit system. Punya papa is a debit credit system. And depending upon whether your net is a debit or a credit, you either pay or you take. It's as simple as that. Now there is a way to go through, that's one paradigm. There is a way to go through and then minimize debit and increase credit, and that is indicated in it's called Purva Mimamsa. Another word is Purva Mimamsa. It's a front part of the Veda, Aranyakas and Brahmanas and so on, where you follow this, you will increase your credit, you do it correctly, as specified, with sincerity, purity, with clean thought, your credit will phenomenally go up. Your debits can be set. In fact, unlike the accounting term, debit and credit cannot be used to set one of the other. Your debit has to be expended. Still you will have a lot of credit which you can enjoy. You can't set it off actually. I want to make this very clear. If you do the papa, you have to go through it. If you have a lot of punya, you enjoy it separately, but this going through can never be escaped anyway. So that's what he says by somapaha, by drinking the soma juice, which is an indication of drinking the soma juice is the culmination of a yajna. This is actually indicating to a successfully completed yajna as per whatever is laid out. That is the meaning. And if you drink the soma juice, you become putapapaha. You are absolved, your debits are all reduced, Your credit on the other hand goes up. Through yajnaihi ishti, through yajna, whatever you have done, and if you have so much of credit, where you will go? You will go Swarga. That is where you go. And this Swarga in our paradigm is actually a holiday timeshare. Depending upon how much credit you had, you can be there. That's why in chapter 8, if you remember, Abrahma Bonan Loka Punaravartino Arjuna. After the credit is over, you will be pushed back to the Bhuloka. There are 7 lokas: Bhuloka, Borloka, Suvarloka, Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, Satyaloka. Depending upon the quantum of the credit, you can shoot much higher. If people go to Satyaloka, there is a Krama Mukti possible. You don't have to come back here. And there are some ideas like that. Anyway, Swargatim Prartayante, because they desire Swargati, so they do as per what is being asked. This is the first part of Veda. Second part of Veda is called Jnanakanda, which is the Vedanta or Uttara Mimamsa, which is all the Upanishads and all these, where the ideas of Jnana, because this will give you a nice holiday, then you come back here. Start your journey all over. This birth and death cycle is not, extinguished in this route. It only makes it a little easy for you, perhaps, but you have to keep on coming and going and coming and going. That is what it is. That's why you say, Punyam asadya surendra lokam ashnanti. They go to Devaloka, ashnanti, enjoy, eat. Divyan divi deva bhogan. So they have all the comfort that is apparently there in the Devaloka, and they consume, which means they are in holiday, time share. Then in the next sloka he says, Tetam bhuktva, the credit is over. Now that it has reached 0, the meter has come to 0 now. What do I do now? Tetam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam kshine punye. Punya has become kshina now. It's all shrunk. Okay. Martyalokam vishanti. Come to the world of death. This is the world in which death happens, birth and death. Martyalokam vishanti. Evam trayi dharmam anuprapannaha. So following that Purva Mimamsa Karma Kanda very faithfully, you will enjoy a lot of credit. But then Abrahma Bonan Lokaha Punaravartino Arjuna. You have to come back here. You have to come back here. There is no. So why Krishna is saying all these? He's saying, whereas if you do bhakti and jnana, there is an escape route. You don't have to go through this. See, this is not any interesting if this is the only thing to do again and again. How many times can we do this? We have to get out. We will be tired of this also. We should be tired of this. And we have to say, no, I don't need it. I have to get out of it. We need that. So that comes later. That's why all these are precursor for the bhakti. So he says, Evam trayi dharmam anuprapannaha gatagatam kama kama labhante. Kamaha kama labhante. Kama kamaha labhante. So they are in this framework of desire. You can have desire, you can exercise rightly what needs to be done in Karma Kanda, then you can go to Surendra Lokam. Kshine Punye Martya Lokam Vashanti. So this route is that, is what he is saying here. He says there is this return to the mortal world which will happen in this route if we go. So with all this background, now he says, look at bhakti. So the last 10 shlokas are magnum opus. I am not going to go through all the 10 shlokas one at a time because they are all very good. We can read. A few I am going to take. It's a magnum opus of bhakti is in these 10 shlokas. 22 to 20, chapter 9 has I think 34 shlokas. So 12 shlokas, real magnum opus of bhakti you will really see very nicely. What do you get in these last 10 shlokas? Believe firmly in the existence of divine ways in which things happen in your life. That's what he tried in the last 10 shlokas. It's what I was showing. Everything that happens, every moment in our life, please understand there is a divine meaning to it. You don't have to know what it is. You need to believe in it. Don't waste your time trying to know it. You will be defeated at the end of the day. Please don't do that. Don't try to know, because you know how we spend time. Why did it happen to me? I have been so good and I have never meant anything wrong, and this is what our mind does. On the other hand, whether good comes or bad comes, If you work from this paradigm, all these thought process will go into the dustbin. Control, Alt, Del, all of them will go into the dustbin. You don't have to do all that if you are willing to take this. Please understand, every moment that it unfolds in front of us, there is a meaning to it. We may not know the meaning. Don't waste your time trying to find the meaning. But develop this belief system. That is a matured way of actually leading life. It is really a matured way of leading life. Every moment you don't know how it unfolds. One Saturday morning, one Tuesday morning, I got up at 9:20. The day before, I mentioned it in one of the earlier classes, the day before I taught this shloka, that tasma sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudhyacha mayarpita mano buddhihi mame vesyashi asamshaya. Monday class. Tuesday morning I get up in my house, I put a small stool, I go up, and then the tube lamp I wanted to remove. Navaratri I wanted to do some decoration. The frame was too tight. I used a screwdriver, and then I was trying to open it. My daughter was holding the stool. I told her, get me a bigger screwdriver, this seems to be tight. She went and to the first floor to pick up. In 10 seconds I was down, my hand was 3 parts. This broke and it came out. This broke exactly at the junction, left hand came out. This broke and it was falling loose because it broke. Now, what are you going to do with this? It all happened in a second. And when we went to the doctor asked, did you fall from 40 feet or 60 feet? I smiled at him and I couldn't smile. I told him I fell from a 2 feet stool. What I am saying, you don't know why it happened. Don't waste your time. I could have ruined my entire life for 6 months or 1 year just saying, oh, I was all right, I was very God-living, God-fearing, every day I could have done 1,000 things. God has been kind to me, He never put me into that route. I believe there is a reason for anything that happens. Please understand, this is otherwise we can never lead a life. Whether it is office pressure, whether it is a family problem, whether it is a misunderstanding with my spouse, whether it is a problem with my daughter or my son, please understand, this is the most practical way to live life. Understand there is divinity. Put your best foot forward, but take what comes. You have no idea why it is happening. Don't waste your time. Don't use your rational mind too much. You will be defeated. You will be proven wrong at the end of the day. Please don't do that. That is the message of bhakti. Ananya Chintayanto Ma is going to say. That's what it is. He takes care of many things in our life. And why, why I am bothered? I have no trust on God. That is why I am bothered. This is the acid test for Shraddha. The moment you worry about your problem, the meaning of that is you have a trust deficit about the notion of God. That is why it is happening. It is an indication of trust deficit in the concept called God. That is why all these will go futile. So it takes care of many things in our life. Must be a unshaking faith with which we have to live. Life can be very interesting. We'll go through lots of things. Who said we will not go through? We will go through. We will go through pain, but we will never go through suffering. Suffering is a matter of mind. Pain is a matter of science. If I fell and my bone is broken into 3 pieces, it must pain. That is a matter of science. How can you alleviate pain? Not possible. But you can alleviate suffering. Suffering is your mental frame of mind to respond to something which happened. That is called suffering. That can be alleviated. Take everything as Bhagavad Prasad. Life is a lot more meaningful. Life is zero stress. Let me tell you, here is where stress management lies. I am honestly telling you, if you want to be less stressed in your life, you have to believe in this. I got promotion, Bhagavad Prasad. I didn't get promotion when I was the most qualified person, Bhagavad Prasad. I stood on the stool, for no reason I got a fracture which is equivalent of a 40 feet fall, Bhagavad Prasad. If we can't understand it, we are childish, we are very unwisely in life. This is called wisdom in life, which is what very, very important. And offer everything that you do to Him with a spirit of unconditional surrender. Sharanagati is very important. Sharanagati and Bhagavad Prasada are the 2 pillars of bhakti. It's not, the cult. The cult actually takes us there. If you miss the point, the cult is of no use for you. Cult actually takes you there if you have understood it, if you have practiced it. Bhagavad Prasada and Sharanagati are the two fundamental pillars of bhakti. I would go one step further and say Bhagavad Prasada and Sharanagati are the two pillars of living a contented life, where happiness and sadness can be put back. All these dvandva which Krishna talked about in the entire Bhagavad Gita can be overcome with this frame of mind. That is what he is going to say. Yes.
Everything is based on fate and nothing is in our hand, something like that.
Yes, but a person who understands this will not stop working. He will work with twice the vigor because he knows I don't have to worry now. See, there are two ways to understand. You can take a half cup of water. I can say it is half empty or half full. We can say that. You are right. It is fate is one word. Essentially, fate is again Maya Shakti is again Prakriti. Prakriti is divinity. So if you say whatever I do, divine ways are going to do. Actually, I should put my load off myself and actually concentrate on what I do. That's a positive way of looking at it. Negative way of looking at it is whatever it is. That is cynicism. That is pure cynicism. And an untrained mind, a mind which does not have nitya anitya vastu viveka, a mind which is very deluded will take that view. Oh, it's all fate, so let me take my hands off. That's an uninformed way of understanding a concept. It is possible actually. It all depends on which way you want to actually understand it. It is very much possible. This is the 370th shloka of the 700. So roughly in the middle. This is a very celebrated shloka. Right? It says, Ananya chintayanto mam yejana paryupasate tesham nitya abhiyuktanam yoga kshemam vahamyaham. Here is a assurance which Krishna gives. Yoga kshemam vahamyaham. He says, I will take care of your yoga. I will take care of your kshema. I will tell you what Ramanuja's Bhashya and Shankara's Bhashya said about yoga and kshema. It's very important to understand. Shankara Bhashya and Ramanuja Bhashya, I just happen to little bit look at it. According to Shankara Bhashya, right? It says, Praptasya rakshanam kshemah. What you have, that needs to be preserved. That is called kshema. This is what he is saying. Praptasya rakshanam kshemah. Apraptasya prapanam yoga. That's what he said. He said yoga is you will get what you have not yet gotten. He says I will do it for you. He is a guarantee which Krishna gives. Apraptasya prapanam yoga. Praptasya rakshanam kshemah. This is what Shankara said. Ramanujacharya said Bhagavat prapanam yoga. And then apunaravrittihi, not coming again into this cycle of birth and death. Punaravritti, apunaravritti. Apunaravrittihi kshemah. That's what he said. In any case, there are many ways people have actually interpreted yoga and kshema. Right? Point is, kshema, another way to understand is kshema is your spiritual good prosperity. Yoga is your material prosperity. Actually, praptasya, rakshanam is material prosperity. Whatever I got, can it give me whatever it needs to be given? That is yoga. Kshema, this is like prayas and shreyas. It's, you need material prosperity. You need spiritual prosperity also. Prayas and shreyas. That's, abhyudaya and nishreyas, whichever way you want to say. So first of all, Krishna says, I will take care of your yoga and kshema. Now, in order for me to do that, yoga kshemam vahami. In fact, there are a lot of living examples. I have come across lot of living examples. I'll tell you one. There is one Dr. Balasubramaniam, who did this Padayatra for right to information and so on. He is in Mysore, near Mysore, that tribal hospital, Swami Vivekananda Youth Movement and so on. I spent one day with him. We happened to go on Ramakrishna, Belagaon or somewhere. We had a one-day program. We both were, whole day I spent with him. And I was talking a lot of things with him. There are a few things which are very striking. Because I have heard this with many people. I'll tell you. See, he actually wanted to become an engineer. He didn't get, for the marks that he got, he didn't get engineering. So he was quite crestfallen. He was mentioning this. Then he went to Ramakrishna Math. He was generally sitting there and reading books because he was feeling very bad. Then the Swamiji in Srinagar, Basavangudi. Swamiji is a young boy sitting as though he took him for lunch. Come, we have lunch here. So about 15 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, he was reading some of these Vivekananda literature and so on. He said, I got a burning desire to become a doctor. See how his first course changes. Then he became a doctor, all that he was mentioning. Then he was mentioning about the hospital that he was building. He went to a remote place, right? And he was a tribal hospital and so on. He told me a few things which I have heard from many people like that. He said, sir, I may be spiritual. I may have my own spirituality. God, I may have even enough material to take care of my food and so on. Person who doesn't get one day food, you can't talk spiritual. For him, spirituality is eating first. Please understand. So my construction workers, I may be building a hospital for a noble cause. Saturday I have to give them salary. They can't do away with the salary because they have 3 kids, they have to eat. This weekly salary is what he says, I don't know where money will come from. He said, sir, I have gone through this journey that first few years I was so worried. Friday I may not know where the money is. Because it is all, typical public service. Comes through donation and so on. He said, in being in this field for so many years, one thing which I learnt very clearly is I am not doing. That thought I have got out of experience. What it means is, yes, this fear was there, but the fear dramatically came down because I thought that if I am doing God's work, God will take care of actually paying them. It has been happening. He narrated 1 or 2 incidences where it really happened. It really happened. He was at the brink of not having money and then some money came. So this God, this Yoga Kshema Vahamyam, in fact there is this Narayanan, Krishnan, who is that, CNN hero and so on. I brought him here 3 years back, EPGP class, I brought him to the class. Because 19-year-old boy, he just quit his job. I should call him a boy. 19, 20 years, he should be a boy, not a man. He quit his job, was supposed to go to Frankfurt or Switzerland somewhere he was working in Taj here, chef. He was to go. Whereas his parents, typical middle income group, Brahmin, South Indian Brahmin, simple salary, boy, been educated and so on. So the parents said, he happens to be from my place. That's how I went and met him also. Parents said, you come because you are now going abroad. There are some, temple, we have a few prarthanas which have to be completed. He said, all right, Meenakshi temple, Mandir. He went, he did all that. While he was coming back from the temple, he found actually that destitute old man was eating his own waste. That changed his complete thinking. He gave up everything. So he narrated all that. He came and then he spoke. At the end of it, one student asked him a question. He asked how much your daily. Today he is feeding 450 people 3 times a day. 9 years now. 10 years since he started. So they asked, what is your daily expenditure? They said about 1 lakh per day, something he was saying. So one student asked, sir, what will happen if you don't get the money? See, we are all very hypothetical people, because we have not experienced it. So in all fairness, our question is not foolish. Because we are only dreamers, we are not doers as far as that activity is concerned. We are only dreamers. So he asked, sir, what will happen if you get 1 lakh is a big money? So he gently smiled at the audience. He gave one sentence. He never said, I will ramp up my advertising campaign or none of that business management thing he said. He never used any of those words. He said one sentence, I think the whole class became silent. He said, if 1 lakh per day is not coming, that means what I am doing is not divine, I will go back to the drawing board. This is the answer he gave. He said if 1 lakh per day, the level in which things are happening is not sustaining, what I am doing is not divine. I will go back, and he found fault only with him. He never found fault with the donors. He never said India lacks, philanthropy. None of that he said. He never said I am not able to reach out people. Nothing he said. He actually narrated a few experiments of how he was at the brink of running out of cash to be given to the, grocery shop need not do philanthropy. He may do philanthropy. You have to pay him for whatever ration he is buying every day. He gave examples. How at the 11th hour, how many times money has come? From where it comes, we do not know. I went to one Swamiji's place. I went there around 12 o'clock or 12:30. I talked to the Swamiji and all there. Food was all over. Actually, the ration is zero. In the Ugrana, there is no, neither vegetable nor rice. One bus load of 20 people came. And this Swamiji, with all his charm and smile, have food and go. The mutt manager started shivering because there is no rice even to cook. I was proxy to this experience. So he was shivering, and Swamiji said, you have to eat. Mutt manager, yes sir, yes Swamiji, I will make arrangement. And he went, and he didn't know. I was watching the whole thing. I also, believe me or not, as soon as that one person from Andhra came, why he came, timing I do not know. He came, he actually brought a month equivalent of groceries, tur dals and rice and a lot of, many Andhra people have that. One truckload of item he brought. And now the mutt manager is all but energy. He said, wait for half an hour, we'll serve food for you. I have seen it in my life. You have to believe it. You have to understand God has its own ways of doing things. If you are not believing in it, you believe in yourself and getting worried, it is a trust deficit on the notion called God. That is what he is saying. Yoga kshemam mahamyaham. How will I do? That you need to do two things. Ananya chintayanto, anya chintanam mastu. Think of me all the time. See me everywhere. Think of me all the time. In everything that you see, try to see divinity. From 7th chapter, he is shouting on this idea. 7th chapter, you look at those 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 shlokas. Onwards, it is going on. Ananya chintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate. If you can do it, and such people are nitya abhiyuktas. Earlier you used to use nitya yukta. Now you add one more visarga abhi. See, these visargas are all making it very powerful. Sanskrit, if you put a visarga, you can make it even more powerful. That is upasargas. Upasargas are meant for it. It can really, enhance the meaning. Sometimes it can anyat balad niyate. That's another thing. But it can make it very, very strong. So, nitya abhiyuktanam. Earlier he said nitya yuktanam earlier. Nitya abhiyuktanam. Such people are nitya abhiyuktas. You go there, he say, I will take care of you. So he gives an assured guarantee. If you can believe it, things will work. If you can't believe it, we will have to worry about ourselves. The choice is simple. So this is an axiom. If you really ask me, this is an axiom of bhakti. Yoga kshemam mahamyam is an axiom of bhakti. The belief that God will take care of the divinity will take care of yoga and kshema. How it happens? There are 1,000 ways it will happen. And it will do what is ordained to be done. In my own family, 2 events happened in a span of 12 months. In one event, a 6-year-old child, the school van ran over the child in front of our house. No help was coming. My sister-in-law was carrying the child like this for 20 minutes. Nobody stopped the car. She took the dead body to Bangalore hospital. 12 months later, a boy who met with an accident, my nephew again, he met with an accident. Moment he fell, he was actually sandwiched between a lorry and a KSRTC bus and the center median, which was concrete in Mysore Road in front of RV College. Moment he was sandwiched and thrown out of it, God immediately sent one doctor by name Sudarshan, who is a RV College doctor, and sent an empty ambulance also. 20th minute he came to, they took him to a smaller hospital. This boy said, take me to Malaya hospital. He had consciousness. He said, take me to Malaya hospital, and then he survived. 2 events in a matter of 12 months. God will do what needs to be done. you should have the courage to take it. Don't waste your time, I need it, I need that. It's not like that. God will do what, if time is over for you, God will do everything to withdraw all your support systems. If time is there for you, God will turn the whole world and provide support systems for you. I am giving you 2 examples, which happened in my family in a span of 12 months. That's why don't try to understand what is unfolding. Understand everything is a divine. Understand it's all Bhagavad Prasad. Take it, whatever comes, take it. Life can be manageable, otherwise life is not manageable. That's the axiom here. Look at this shloka, it's again a very nice shloka. It says, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhaktya upahritam ashnami prayatatmanaha. People have grossly misused this shloka. I'll tell you the misusing part of it first. That's why, any idea can be understood from, like the earlier question, this also, I have seen. Oh, God has said, Patram pushpam phalam toyam, just for puja, don't buy vegetables, don't buy flowers, you don't have to buy any of them, don't. Whatever God has said, He'll take anything that you give. That's one way to understand this shloka. You can do udasina, which you will never do when your CEO comes to your house. The best way to understand God is your CEO. Because what we do to a CEO is what we are supposed to do to our God. When my CEO come to my house, I want to make sure nothing goes wrong. I personally take care. See, nobody in the world has said this CEO is a very nice person. Patram pushpam phalam toyam. So when he comes, you just say hi and then give him a cup of water and chase him away. He is good natured, but you will never do it. Tell me how many of them will do it? Nobody will do it. So we know the notion of God, we apply to CEO or to my boss, because we are very utilitarian in life. We are very narrow in our understanding of what is to be done. The shloka, what is saying here is that bhava is very important. Dharma Shastra, it says, if you are not able to do shraddha for your parents, you are in a very adversarial stage. You are not finding a purohit, you are not in a position, it's a big tsunami and everything is tossed. Today morning tsunami happened, today is your, let's say, parents shraddha and so on. It's a very adversarial condition, nothing is possible. Dharma Shastra says, go to your open space, cry for 1 hour, enough. So don't give up all shraddhas and start crying. That's not the idea there. It is bhava. That at any cost I want to show my gratitude, I want to show my reverence. Now there is a gradation given. Now an uninformed mind, a mind which has no reference, will downgrade it. So that's how people use this. Look, I found in common parlance, no, you can patram pushpam phalam toyam, anything you can do, which will give up all your achara vicharas. Because God has said patram pushpam phalam. He never said that. He said, through this shloka, He is saying, I look for your bhava. If you can give me patram, you have to give me patram. If you can give me pushpam today, you have to give me pushpam. You can't downgrade it to the lowest level. That's not what we should understand from this shloka. It talks about bhava. Bhakti is all about bhava. So he says, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya. Okay, a person with bhakti will never settle. Will never settle for lower until that is the only thing possible. You'll never settle. That's what you do to a person in your office who comes to your place. You never settle for the lowest. You find the best point up to which you can go. That approach you have to take for God. That's the idea. Tadaham bhaktya upahritam. That you gave me with that bhava of bhakti, ashnami, prayatatmanaha. With all the effort that you gave, with that bhava is the raw material there. All others are later. There is one shloka in Shivananda Lagari, I will just bring that shloka to the story of Kannappa. It's a classic story which brings what bhava can do. Sai Shankara puts one shloka on that. So that's what he's saying here. Yat karoshi, he is actually going to another level. He says, Yat karoshi, whatever you do, Yat ashnati, whatever you eat. That's why it is only in this country there is this practice of pray and eat. Because you don't eat it to this mortal body. You want to eat it because there is one, God particle inside. In 15th chapter he is going to say, Pachamyan Vaishwanaraha. Aham Vaishwanaram Bhutva Praninam Deham Ashritaha. So we are offering for Vaishwanara, not for us. Pranapana Samayukta Pachamyanam Chaturvidam, he says in 15th chapter. So that is why even when you eat, think of me. Yad Juhoshi, whatever you offer, make an offering. Yad Dadasi, whatever you give. Yat Tapasyasi, whatever you endure in your life. Tapas is, enhancing our character, enhancing our ability to do higher things in life. Anything that you do, yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. Put me in the reference and do it, that is bhakti. So these slokas are all about how do you develop this bhava. Bhakti is all about bhava. So he says, yat karoshi, yad ashnasi, yad jugoshi, dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya, all that you do, tat kurushva madarpanam. Make an offering to me. Make everything as an offering to God. And take what comes out of it as prasada from God. That's the one which is being talked about. It's a nice sloka in Shivananda Lagari. There is this story of Kannappa. People in this part of the country knows this story very well. The story goes like this. It's not too far from here. It is near Tirupati only. Kalahasti. There is one linga. There is one Shivalinga for which a Brahmin is doing puja. He has been doing puja every day, and what he notices after some days, he noticed something strange. What he finds is there are place is dirty, there are chapel marks on Shiva, then there are this meat sprinkled all over the place. So he is very, very agitated about this. He is very concerned and very agitated. So one day this Brahmin chooses to find out what is going on here. So he hides himself and waits and waits and waits. Finally one hunter arrives. So he has water in his mouth full for Abhisheka. Right? And he has some meat which he has tasted, which is tasty, so therefore he has some tasted meat. And then he has to give some flowers which he has put it on his, that's the way, because he is carrying all these, so he has put it. So this person comes here, he does the Abhisheka for the linga and then takes this flower out of him and then makes it as an offering and makes this offering of meat and goes. See, this Brahmin sees that. So the Brahmin is hugely agitated. So that night in the dream Shiva says, tomorrow you wait and see. Tell the Brahmin, you wait and see tomorrow what happens. So next day, the Brahmin waits. So this hunter comes as usual. And as he was about to do it, everything is being offered. He finds blood coming out of one of the eyes of the linga. So he tries, he doesn't know what to do. So he uses the arrow, plucks his eye and then puts it on that. And then blood starts coming from the other eye. So he doesn't know how to locate the other eye if he removes it. So with his chappal he puts his leg on linga near the eye so that after he plucks, this is a story. Now all Indian stories, you should not read. I have told it in my other earlier classes, I used to give this as one of the example. You should never read, in fact none of the Indian mythological stories can be read with a rational mind. Because this story is fully flawed. How can blood come out of a stone linga? Question 1. Question 2, without doing a surgery, how can you actually fix a eye? Like this you can ask 100 questions. Draupadi Aparna, I always give that example. Who actually rolled the sari around Draupadi? What is the manufacturing lead time? How much time did it take? All, you can ask them 1,000 questions and then shoot down the whole stories. This is what Westerners know, because Westerners know only to understand anything only rationally. Indian mind is not like that. Indian mind is hugely intuitive, hugely reflective. This story, these are all stula. All these are called stula, just like the other one. You have to first throw all of them out. The story is not blood coming, and you should ask, what is this story trying to tell us? What is behind this story? Don't look at the logic. Don't look at the rationality. You will go mad. You will say all these are nonsense and then you throw it. This story says the pinnacle of bhakti is bhava. That is the message which is coming out of the story. How do you describe bhava? Do something to describe it. bring a certain way of figuratively or in a dramatically. That's how our entire literature is. Our literature cannot be read with the current education system. We are all part of the Western education system. That's why you cannot read ancient Indian wisdom on your own. You need somebody who can actually make sense of it. Soma Surya Agni Lochana. Now this is nonsense. You will ask, right eye is sun or left eye is sun? Because there are three eyes, Soma, Surya and Agni. Now you can ask whether right eye is sun or left eye is sun. You can do 3C2. There is three ways of locating Soma, Surya and Agni. These are all rational ways of understanding. That's not the message there. So look at this shloka now. With this story. This shloka is recollecting that story. It says, Margavartita Paduka. To protect your, on the way when you have a Paduka. Right? Pashupatehe Angasya Kurchayate. That is used to clean your. Kurcha is, this stick kind of thing for which you use for cleaning. So to do cleaning, chapel is being used. In a dramatic way, this shloka is coming. Okay? Gandu Shambuni, mouthful of water. Gandu is this, Ambuni is water, right? Gandu Shambuni Nishechanam, for Abhishechanam. That's what it says. Puraripoho Divya Abhishekayate. This this one mouthful of water becomes such a holy water for Abhisheka. Adi Shankara is asking this question. They're all question mode actually. Then he says, Kinchit Bhakshitam. You have already tasted. He wants to make sure he wants to offer the best. Looks like. Kinchit Bhakshita Mamsa Sesha Kabalam. Kabala is one handful, roughly this quantity, which I have tasted, and it's a Mamsa and tasted, and the Sesha. Balance. Navyopahara is for Naivedya, for the Lord. Bhakti, Ikta, that font is gone. Bhaktihi kim na karoti. What can not bhakti? If this is possible, Adi Shankara is saying, if all these are possible, Bhaktihi kim na karoti. Aho is ascharya. It's a ecstasy and wonder. Bhakti, if Bhakti can do this, Bhakti can do anything. That's what he is coming to. Right? Kimaho vanacharaha bhavatam sayate. This a hunter can do so much, and so it doesn't mean, if you analytically understand it, then you will have to put a ticket, people can come with one mouthful of water and keep spitting on the linga. That's not what it is. That's not the idea. Don't take anything out of it. This is dramatizing the deeper principle. Yad ashnati, yad karoshi, yad juhosi, yad dadasi, yad madarpanam. That is the spirit is explained through this. In fact, we have to be in a frame of mind like Kannappa before you fill your mouth full of water and go near that idol. You can't do it. Even if you ask me to do it, I can't do it because I am not a really, reached the pinnacle of bhakti. So we can't understand stories like this. Bhava is being explained here. That's the idea. One more slide and then we will. Then a couple of things. Bhakta is never destroyed nor condemned. These are all axioms of bhakti in this chapter. He says, Kshipram bhavati dharmatma shasva shantim nigacchati. He will go unto peace eventually. Don't worry. Eventually he will go to peace. Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhaktaha pranashyati. Me bhaktaha na pranashyati. My bhaktas will never perish. That's why he said in chapter 6, na kaschit kalyana krit durgatim tata gacchati. Anything good that you have done will never go waste. That is what is reassured here. He says, my bhaktas will never be. So if something bad happens, don't immediately shift your understanding of bhakti and God. That's what we are all trying. They are all very, small little blurbs in the radar. You have to have faith that God will not. Yogakshemam vahamyam, he has said. That's why he says, Name bhaktaha pranashyati. He will reach Shanti. You have that faith. Actually, the faith will bring Shanti. That unflinching faith, if we can develop, we will get Shanti in life. Nischayena, that will happen. Then he says, divinity is the birthright for everyone. And bhakti is the tool to achieve it. With this shloka, he says, Mam hi partha vyapashritya yaha api sihu papayonayaha Striyoho Vaishyaha Tata Shudraha Tepi Yantim Paragatim. This shloka has been very, badly interpreted. Because, moment you put Vaishya, Sudra and other people, all antennas open. I will explain. It's a very nice shloka actually. I will explain what is being told. The idea is very simple. The idea is these Brahmana, Vaishya, Shudra and Kshatriya is a domain of Vyavahara. When you are in an organization, you have to have classification of labor and you create a class of employees, skill levels. That's one part of the story. Now there is a fallout out of that. Now you say Brahmanas are supposed to read Veda and do all these, and then those who do Vedas and all these will eventually liberate. Then you are summarily coming with a suggestion that it is an exclusive domain only for Brahmins, because by virtue of all these activities that you have divided. The society divided activities. Now the question is, can spirituality and divinity can be so imperfect that you have to become a Brahmin only then you will actually liberate? Logically it is not possible. Simple. We don't need too much of thinking. It is an imperfect science if it happens. First of all, let us agree to that. You, for Vyavahara, you did something. You said, it is like saying in a certain company, only this kind of people who have reached this level of entitlement will walk through this VIP gate and get things done. And if you stop that and say none of us will get health services, there is something wrong. There is something fundamentally wrong with this idea of providing welfare. So in the same way, the choice of words is ladies are not. See, there is one thing common to all these. What is common to all these is, in our scheme of division of labor and skills and what is to be done and so on, this lot of people will not read Veda. Which means a Brahmin's wife will also not read Veda. Strees are, that is a certain classification. Because we organize work in a particular way. Now that doesn't mean that all these people are excluded from liberation. That is what Krishna is assuring here. He is saying here, nothing doing. If that is a route for them, there is a route for everyone. In fact, in chapter 12, Bhakti Yoga also, you will see it. He is saying, all roads lead to the same. That's what our Sanatana Dharma anyway says. Just because Vyavahara created certain restrictions, certain do's and don'ts, that doesn't mean that liberation can be. In fact, all these Nayanmars, this Kannappa story that you saw, this Kannappa is one of the 63 Nayanmars. In Tamil Nadu, in this part of India, there are 63 Shaivite Bhaktas, 12 Alvars. The stunning part is, out of 63, I think there is only one Brahmin. The 62 are not Brahmins. In fact, a vast majority of them are actually Shudras. If you look at the nine, they are worshipped in every temple. You go to South India, you go to Tamil Nadu, any temple, Shiva temple, you will find 63 idols. Please, next time when you go and see. There are 63 idols, they are all God. What is this communicating? This Brahmana, Vaidya, Shudra, Kshatriya and Vaishya is just a Vyavahara part. Don't mix it up and bring it into the spirit. Spirituality is independent of that. In fact, all these Nayanmars who are all Shudras have actually liberated themselves and become gods. In Madras, if you go in the month of March, go in the second week of March, the entire Mylapore, which is the core of the city, will be blocked for 10 days. The 63 Nayanmars are brought in a Pallaki, big festival for 15 days. What is all this saying? What is all this saying is, don't mix Vyavahara with spirituality. Vyavahara requires do's and don'ts, rules, restrictions, do all that. Spirituality requires what is called Samatva. Samatva Darshana. So the common to all these people is there is this widespread thinking that the only path to liberate is to read Veda. No, Krishna says no. All those people who will not read Veda, because that's how we have classified, will all come to me. That's what he is saying in this shloka. Papa yoneha. In fact, apiche duracharaha bhajate mamananyabhaga. I did not bring that shloka. He even explained how all these will happen. He says there is a path of transformation. You don't worry. That has nothing to do with what you are doing. So the Nayanmars are all, cobblers and this and that, but they all realize God. And they are all worshipped. These are all 1,500 year history. That is what this shloka is saying. So, people, misinterpret it. They say these are all very sectarian. It is not that. It is saying divinity is everybody's birthright. That is the idea coming through this. He says, Vyapashritya yopi syuhu. This is the only thing he says. You do ashraya of me. You bring your quota of divinity, you are liberated. It doesn't matter in Vyavahara what you do. Vyavahara, you may do anything. You may do anything in your Vyavahara. That doesn't count in spirituality. Mam Vyapashritya yopi syuhu. Those who are in ashraya of me, I lift them. That's the end of the story. That's what he says in this shloka. I think I will stop here. There are a couple of shlokas, but anyway, I will just, last shloka I will talk. Manmana bhava, madbhaktaha, madhyaji, mam namaskuru. In chapter 18 he says the same thing again. He says, Manmana bhava, think of me all the time. Manmana bhava, your mind, let it be focused on me all the time. Madbhaktaha, madhyaji, which means all the offerings. Offerings is not necessarily, madhyaji, literally if you translate it, offering of the ghee. It's not that. Anything that you do, world is every activity you do is an yajna. Read chapter 4, you will understand it. Shlokas 24 to 32, if you read, yajna has a broader meaning. Every activity is an yajna. So madhyaji means all your activities offer to me. That's the meaning. Madhyaji, mam namaskuru, you surrender unto me. Surrender is not weakness. Surrender is out of awe and that understanding of the larger principle. Mam namaskuru, mameva yeshyasi. Yuktva evam atmanam matparayanaha. You will eventually reach me. So the last 10 shlokas in chapter 9 are pinnacle of bhakti. If you really want to understand the spirit of bhakti, the last 22nd shloka to 31st shloka, he takes us to this pinnacle, two beautiful chapters, which we will see, Bhakti, Vibhuti Yoga and Vishwarupa Darshana, where this is taken to another level. With that we will stop here. Om Tassaditi, Srimad Bhagavad Gita Upanishatsu, Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre, Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvade, Raja Vidya Rajaguhyo Yogo Nama, Navamodhyaya. So next week we will see the Vibhuti Yoga, which is chapter 10, beautiful. Vibhuti and Virat are two very nice ways of understanding divinity at the next level, which we will continue from the next class. Thank you.